All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm so sorry for the delay. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but I wanted to start here in our main entrance to the Other Art Fair. So welcome to the Other Art Fair Los Angeles Virtual Editions. I'm excited to be here. My name is Erin Remington, and I'm one of the curators for Saatchi Art. The Other Art Fair has been working super hard on making this virtual tour the best experience, and these tours have been super fun for both us and the artists to kind of just hear more about their work. So I'm super excited to have you guys here. This year marks the 10-year anniversary of the Other Art Fair. So for over the past 10 years, they have done 44 art fairs in 8 different cities and have worked with 3,500 artists from over 20 countries. This year, it's looked a little bit different. This is the second virtual tour that we have had so far. And in 2016, the partnership with Saatchi Art was birthed as the vision for the art fairs was for artists to be able to continue to sell their artwork, not just on the weekends of these amazing art fairs, but throughout the rest of the year. So this tour, for those of you who are joining, you know that this is called the Neo Figures Tour. We're going to be focusing on types of figurative works in different mediums. Today, we have the pleasure to speak with the artist, or I have the pleasure to speak with the artist Liz Bretz, Jocelyn Miller, and Ragnai Agarwal. Just a little bit about why we're focusing on figurative works today. This is something that I'm super interested in, something all throughout art history. Figurative works can be seen in all different cultures, times, and styles, capturing the human form from ancient Greece to Renaissance into Romanticism. And usually during those times, it really sparks a certain way of thinking about the human body. Typically, it's in the most idealistic form of the male and female body. In contemporary art, it's been very interesting to see this shift of the less emphasis on the perfection, but more aiming to depict a sense of truth in storytelling. The Tate defines figurative art as any form of modern art that retains strong reference to the real world and particularly to the human figure. That's why I'm super excited to share these 3 different artists with you guys. They depict what that strong reference to the real world. Some are more whimsical and they all have a different flair in how they depict the human body, but I think that there is such truth and realness in how they do it. So we're going to start off with our first artist. We're going to start with Liz Bretz. So I will take you to her booth here. Okay, sorry, I didn't realize I wasn't sharing my screen yet. Okay, but here we are now. All right. Liz Bretz, go ahead and turn on your camera. Great. Liz Bretz is a commercial artist. Yes, she's a commercial artist and fine art photographer based in Los Angeles. Through her surrealist landscapes and moody portraits, she strives to capture authentic feeling, find balance between perceived opposites, and to uphold the infinite strength of the feminine. She's the creative director and co-owner of Moon 7 Collective, a photo and video studio in downtown Los Angeles. Thank you so much for being here, Liz.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yes, I immediately was drawn to your photography. I love just your sense of moodiness and the lighting that you use. And I would just love to kind of hear more, just briefly, about yourself, how you got into being a photographer, and your journey as an artist.
Sure. Photography had always been a hobby of mine. And I think early on into my career after college, I decided that I wanted to commit to it full time. And so I re-enrolled into school again, specifically photography school, and started working in the photo industry in Los Angeles, and at the same time, simultaneously kind of creating my own personal artwork using the photographic method.
Beautiful. I love it. How long have you been doing photography?
Professionally and artistically, almost about 15 years.
Wow. And are you
Yeah.
shooting mainly like digital, or is it, do you do film as well?
I was educated on film and I love film, but primarily now using digital cameras to create the artwork and using composite techniques in Photoshop, especially the artwork with multiple figures. I'll use a composite technique in creating the
Fun.
illusion of multiple exposure.
Lovely. So tell me a little bit about how you pick your subjects, and how you kind of create these different scenes.
Sure. My subjects, I find them through Instagram recently a lot. Instagram's become an incredible tool to find people. Also, the platform Model Mayhem or friends. I'm really just looking for individuals that are able to emotively express through their body and their form.
Yeah.
I'm really looking for that deep emotional connection and impact.
Yeah. I absolutely love this piece. I want to hear the story behind this. Do you have music to the works? I know if I click on it, then we'll hear. Do you have any
I I don't, although I can imagine a very atmospheric, moody audio file going with this, but I don't have one.
tell me where
um,
this is, how you got all of these? Is it one model that is like layered on top, or is it
mhm.
six one?
So that is actually me.
Oh,
It is a self-portrait. I would call this the keystone image of this entire series. It's the first image that I created out of all these pieces of work. I created it, I was going through a kind of a tough time and a deep and reflective emotional time. And um, this was taken on the island of Kauai. And this is one of my favorite places. I grew up in Kauai part-time. One of my favorite places to go and write and be introspective. So there was a calling to me to this particular log. And, I just envisioned myself kind of lying on it, strewn about it. And in order to capture it, I took multiple pictures. I had a friend with me because the camera, this is on a lake, so the camera's across the lake. I wouldn't have been able to necessarily use a remote.
yeah.
So I would just position myself on the log in different places to tell a story for each individual. And you can see there's kind of a ghosting technique where there's a reflection of someone standing on the log, but the person there isn't there. So there's 7 figures here, and it was storytelling for my experience. This is my first time posing nude, and it was kind of a very vulnerable moment for myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where it started.
I love it even more knowing the story behind it. What's the title Venus flytrap? Is it just kind of to be
Mhm.
ironic, or is there?
There's a little bit of a word play there with Venus flytrap. Initially, immediately I recognized it. I grew up both in Kauai and in Pennsylvania, and on a farm in Pennsylvania. And in the barn and the farm, my dad had all these fly traps that were positioned throughout the barn to capture flies, and it was all this like really sticky material. And initially, when the image was created and I made the image, saw it, and I immediately thought of those flies that were sticking onto the fly trap. And then in pursuing, trying to figure out what the title of the piece would be, a play on the Venus flytrap, and Venus being such a prominent female character in art history, and
Yeah,
well, not even just art, but in history, in Greek, I guess it's mythology. And then also the play on the plant, the carnivorous plant.
I love that. So in thinking about your works and let me get out of this piece right here, and thinking about yeah, inspired by the human body and portraits. What is it that, because looking at your body of work, it does look that you predominantly are depicting humans, the figure,
Mhm.
human form. What is it that you're drawn to in the human body in your artwork?
Mhm. I'm drawn to just the pure expressiveness. I mean, there's a communication that happens that we recognize body positions, we recognize the emotive expressions of the human body. Just it's a one-to-one, and also just even the position of a hand, it being different, it will communicate something differently. So just the inherent
It's so expressive.
emotive expressiveness that the human form has.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I love it.
And and in that image, just it's almost a fetal position, and it's to me that evokes like protecting yourself or vulnerable or wounded, um, and it's a huge part of the storytelling for that image.
It's beautiful. And then I always think of the ocean as being like a really freeing, natural place. So kind of having both
Hmm.
of those together, uh,
Hmm. Absolutely.
it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Um, for anyone who wants to come visit Liz's booth, you are in room 1,
Mhm.
correct? Yes.
Yes.
And if you guys want to schedule any time to speak with the artists, each of the artists at the front of their booth, they have these really beautiful videos where you can hear a little bit more about each of the artists, and you can schedule time to come hear more about their artwork if there's a specific piece that you have a question about, and you can connect with her on Instagram. So there's just a lot of fun ways to continue to connect with our artists. Um, but we are going to head over to the next booth. We'll see you in a little bit, Liz, for the Q&A. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And then Jocelyn Miller, you can go ahead and turn on your camera and your microphone and join me. Jocelyn lives and paints in Laguna Beach.
Hi.
Hi. She loves bold colors and outlines and injects humor and irony into her work. I couldn't put it any better. I love your work. I love this.
Thanks, Erin.
Love that it's just doesn't take life too seriously and has like a bit of humor to it. And I love that each one of your guys' styles is so different and can just depict the human body and just life itself in such a different way. But I would love to hear first a little bit about you, how you started painting and your journey as an artist.
Well, I have been creating and painting, I would say, my entire life. Creativity was a huge emphasis in my family growing up. My father's an architect. He actually studied with Frank Lloyd Wright.
Wow.
My mom is extremely creative. My brother is an excellent drawer. So that was just part of my life. I didn't know anything other than creativity and having art be art and design being a huge part of life. So I studied in college. I studied drawing and painting. More recently, I have been studying one-on-one with my favorite artist. I just love his work so much, and I feel so fortunate to work with him. His name is James Strombotny, and he is 87 now.
Is he in
And
Laguna as well?
pardon me?
He in Laguna as well?
No, he paints in Anaheim, California.
Yeah.
But he has works in every major museum. I'm extremely fortunate to work with him and learn from him. And he also is very humorous and whimsical in his work. So I think that has rubbed off on me. But
Yeah.
about 8 years ago, I battled and survived 2 life-threatening diseases.
Wow.
I was in the hospital for 100 days, and my brother is the one who saved my life with his bone marrow. I had a bone marrow transplant from him, but I was on an incredible amount of medication. But I think the most important medication for me was laughter
Mm.
and humor. That's absolutely what got me through.
I
So
think we all
when
appreciate that from this last year with 2020 and everything
yeah,
we went through.
yeah, I mean,
How
I
important
emerged.
to laugh
Yeah,
and enjoy life.
yes. So I emerged from that ordeal, just realizing how important laughter is, and you just cannot take life too seriously. You just have to enjoy the time you have and just go for it. So that's what I try to do with my paintings.
I love that. Tell me a little bit about this one, actually. I haven't seen this work before. It's so fun.
Oh, thank you. So this one, I'm trying to remember I title my works with full sentences. So
oh, I think I can click on it. Douglas pops a breath
there it
in
is. Yeah.
his mouth just before their doors open in anticipation of his daily ride to the ground floor with Colleen. Wait, you're not Colleen.
Yeah. So not much of a human figure in this one. Just the back of a bald Dennis's, or not Dennis, this is Douglas's head, more of I guess, a figure of a camel. But, just it's all about whimsy. It's just bright colors. I just really hope that my works spark a smile, maybe a little chuckle. Just love bringing bright colors and outlines to my work to emphasize that humor and whimsy.
How do you work, like how do you create these scenes or these different muses or people that you're deciding to paint? Is it real people in your life, or are they made up characters? Who are these?
They are all, they somehow they come to me. I don't know. When I'm, lying in bed or in the checkout line at the market, or I don't know, folding socks. I'll just say, there needs to be this older woman who thinks she's something real special in the pool smoking, and then I'll just go ahead and create her.
That's so fun. So it's truly from your imagination or what you envision these different characters to be.
Yeah. I mean, there's inspiration everywhere always. So things are always popping into my head, and I like to maybe throw, different things together that aren't necessarily seen together often. I like to use, just weirdness, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, no, I get it. It seems that depicting human life and experiences in life is a common theme in your works and in all different forms. Is that something that you're really drawn to? I know some people really tend to do landscapes or, still lives. What is it about the human form or these figures that keeps you wanting to go back to those types of characters?
I just think that everyone can relate to the human body. Obviously, that's something we all have in common. And I just would really love people, the viewers of my paintings, to, be able to chuckle and realize that you just don't have to take life or art too seriously. That's the kind of art that I like to surround myself with.
Yeah.
I love it. After my health ordeal, I love to smile and laugh and just enjoy life and not take it too seriously.
Yeah. Well, it made me smile. And again, if anyone wants to get more information or schedule some time, then you can go ahead. This is the front of Jocelyn's booth right here. Oops. Let's get you over into the matrix. And go ahead and schedule a time, and also has, oh my gosh, I say it's sort of like a video game. A video game over here to see your beautiful video and everything that you worked so hard to do. So if you want to spend more time getting to talk to Jocelyn, go ahead and just drop her a message here or schedule a time to chat with her. I'm sure she would love to talk to you more about her work.
I would.
Thank you much, Jocelyn. I will see you in a few minutes.
Thanks, Erin. Thank you.
All right. You can just go ahead and turn your camera off so that and microphone off so that we can have perfect. All right. Our final artist we have is Ragini Agarwal. She is an artist, designer, and mental health advocate in Los Angeles. Driven by a pop art aesthetic and bold colors, the underlying theme in her work is mental health, inclusion, celebration of all types of beauty. She has a beautiful quote that says, "I do not believe in societal pressures or definitions of beauty, and through my work, I am part of the countercultural redressing of this issue." Ragni, go ahead and turn on your camera and your microphone so you can join us here.
Hi,
Hi, welcome.
thanks for having me.
Yes, I love that you have your background to reflect your beautiful artwork.
Well, thanks.
I immediately was drawn to your work. I love the colors, and I am so fascinated by digital art. I think that's a space that's just only becoming bigger and bigger, especially with conversations of NFTs and so many other, I'm sure, conversations that we can be having. I know that you do painting as well as not just digital art, but I would just love to hear a little bit more of your background. I know that you're a designer, so did you start more in that world before you started doing fine art, or tell me a little
Yeah, so I'm actually a graphic designer by trade, and then, but I have always been creative, and I was lucky enough that my parents put me into art classes when I was younger. So after college, I was working in the graphic design field for, I graduated now 18 years ago, so a while ago. And I kind of just got a little bit burnt out with just doing graphic design work, and I felt like I had kind of lost my way from my creative side. So when I was I suffer from both depression and anxiety. So when I was kind of I was having a depressive episode a couple years ago, I decided to just start drawing digitally about it, which is how some of these art pieces
so
came about.
beautiful.
Yeah, and I just decided that I would start drawing about it and kind of mixing some words with the art to see if anyone else related to it at all.
I always am just so amazed by artists by putting their heart on their sleeves, by putting their artwork out there, and just knowing a bit of your story and knowing that these are so deeply personal in your process. Is that something that you're ever nervous to share with other people, or like, do you feel it very vulnerable, or is it cathartic? What is that process like for you?
It's always extremely scary,
Yeah,
and
I think that's normal.
definitely requires a lot of vulnerability. I think for any artist to even just put your work out there. But it does feel cathartic because as soon as I do, people relate to the mental health messages, especially last year. Like so many people were going through similar things, and I think everyone feels alone. But then when we start talking about it, we realize so many people are on the same page.
Yeah. And what's your hope with, addressing mental health issues? Do you have like conversations around it with people, or is it just sort of more like you processing where you're at, or what are you aiming to seek in that journey?
I just want to bring more and more light to it and make it more normal and just part of everyday conversation so that it doesn't feel stigmatized even.
Right.
And I think it's starting to happen, but I think there are still things that people are afraid to talk about. So I'd like to continue to do that.
It's beautiful. Ooh, I never saw this piece yet over here. So fun. And so are you still doing graphic design as well, or have you switched into just doing full-time, like your own art?
I do both. I'm a graphic designer and an artist.
Yeah, I love how your works really focus on inclusion and having, really focusing on you using figures and models that like haven't necessarily always been seen. Can you talk more about that and just your passion for having inclusivity in your artwork?
Yeah, so I'm Indian, and I also have had eating disorders and body issues my whole life. So I think that a lot of it was because I didn't see people like me or people with my figure or anything like that in society. So part of my art is to just bring women of color and people of color into the light.
Yeah.
And show them that they are being seen. And basically, yeah.
I love it because, you know, when I mentioned in the beginning how the human form has been so idealized and like perfectionism, and there's one way of looking at it, you know, that's what's been shown. It's like a naked male or a naked female body in ancient Greece, and then it changes every culture and time of what is considered beautiful. And I love that, you know, you're showing like the very many different facets of like what beautiful is, and that these really are stunning pieces of artwork reflecting just like these different models and different people that you're wanting to show. I love it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Can you tell me a little bit more about this piece?
So this was part of my first mental health series a couple years back, where I combined both digital art plus my poetry and words, to kind of just showcase messages of things that we're struggling and thinking about. Like, we may look perfect on the outside, but we don't actually know what's happening on the inside of humans. So this was kind of to bring that to the outside and to the surface.
I love that. I think that that's so important, of just allowing people to be where they're at and being honest with it and not being fake.
Yeah.
Cool. How is your work developed in this last year of 2020, or I guess now still in 2021 with COVID?
So that's when I actually started coming back to painting. And that was more so because I just really needed to not look at a screen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I created so much digital art at the beginning of the year. And then I was like, I can't, like, everything I'm doing in life is on a screen and I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And even when painting, it would distract me for hours at a time to not even check the news or check anything on my phone. And I painted so much when I was younger that it felt kind of like coming home, and I just loved it. So I'm hoping to do both now as much as possible, but yeah.
Yeah. What are these? Are this your poetry? Oh, this is your artist statement here. Is this one of your?
Yeah, so all three together are my whole artist statement.
Lovely. I can tell you're a designer. It's very beautifully displayed and showed. I love your booth. I love the dark walls. It looks beautiful. And again, if anyone wants to come visit her booth and come say hi to Ragni, go ahead and come to this wall here. Let me get into this avatar world. All of these videos are amazing. If you guys haven't had a chance to watch, if you are exploring the fair, take the time to watch all these different videos. The artists have done an amazing job, and you can schedule some time to chat with her as well. So I'm going to bring us back to all of us. You can see the whole panel. So go ahead and bring your cameras back on. Great. And your microphones. Amazing. And we're just going to see if we have any questions that popped up. So let me just pop in to see if we have any questions yet, or if you guys have any questions or sparked seeing from the other artists that you want to ask, feel free to hop in as well.
Erin, can you hear me, Erin?
Yeah.
This is Jocelyn. It says that I cannot turn on my video. Oh, now I can, I think. There I am.
We're here.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. I'm just going to wait another minute here to see if we have any questions, but wanted to open it up to you guys to see if you had any comments or questions for each other, or anything that you wanted to add that maybe you didn't have a chance to say yet about your own booth.
I love both of the other artists' work.
Oh,
it's really beautiful. It's great.
Same.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And have any of you guys done, oh, I know Ragni, you've done the one LA fair in person. Was this, Liz and Jocelyn, your first other art fair?
Yeah.
experience?
It was. I was signed up for the one last year, but then because when COVID hit,
Yeah.
everything got pushed back. But yeah, this is my first one.
I did the Dallas one, but it went virtual. So that was the,
Yeah.
not a live one, but just the one in Dallas, the virtual one.
Great. It looks like we have one question here. It's for Ragnish. Someone says, beautiful work. How do you relate to your Indian background? Being, there you say, being mixed Jamaican, I know very little of my Indian, Afro-Caribbean background.
So I am Indian and I grew up going to India a lot. And you'll see that reflected in a lot of my pieces. And my pieces kind of help me actually figure that out as I go, because I am Indian, but I was born in America. So I am very American as well. And it's kind of like my struggle to kind of fit into both worlds, if you would. And that, I mean, sorry, I don't really know how to articulate it, but yeah, it's just kind of a struggle of how I feel like I can feel not Indian enough here, but in India, I'm like too American, and kind of how I navigated that to where I am now and how I feel comfortable being Indian wherever I am, because I'm Indian. I don't have to prove
Yeah.
So I kind of try to reflect that through some of my pieces. I only showed a couple this time in the other art fair, but if you go to my Saatchi profile, you'll see some more of my Indian pieces.
She wrote back, I get that.
Yeah.
I think it's well said.
The Indian community can be, especially if you're West Indian or Indian from other parts of the world, then I know the Indian community can be very aggressive with its opinions. So
Amazing. Let's see if there's any more questions that pop in. Thank you for that great question. There's a Q&A box at the bottom if you guys want to type in and ask any questions. All right. I think that's it. Thank you so much for being a part of this tour. Hopefully I'll get to see you guys in real person someday soon.
Thank you, Erin.
Yes, and thank you for bearing with all the technological difficulties, but it's been my pleasure to speak with you guys today.
awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
So awesome.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.